everyone, my name is Umul and I'll be the moderator for today's discussion for the subject TEC 1052, Effective Communication in English, conducted under the guidance of our lecturer, Mr. Tugasan. Our topic is how can artificial intelligence enhance learning while preserving academic integrity in education. We choose this topic because AI is already becoming part of the student learning. Students may use it to understand difficult topics and improve their writing, translate information, or come up with ideas. However, it can also be used to complete assignment without really understanding. Academic integrity is based on values such as honesty, fairness, responsibility, and respect for the original work. So this is not a simple discussion about whether AI should be banned, whether it's good or bad. The real question is, when does AI support learning and when does it start replacing student thinking and effort? We'll first discuss the benefit of AI, followed by its risks. Then we'll debate whether AI should be banned or compared to several solutions and finally agree on one practical recommendation. Would you like to start by sharing your view?
Okay, thank you, Umo. Good morning, everyone. My name is Yo Cindy. Okay, personalized. I think AI can be a useful learning tool, but students still need to actively involve. For example, asking AI to explain a difficult concept is very different from asking it to write a completely assignment. In the first situation, AI helps the student to understand. In the second situation, AI may be doing the thinking for the student. That's why concerns me, a student work may look much better, but they actually understand they may not improve at all. So in my opinion, the most important question is not simply whether students use AI. We should ask whether they can still understand the content, explain their ideas, and take responsibility for the work they submit. Students should remain the main thinkers, decision makers, and author of their work.
Good morning, my name is Wang Zhichen. I agree with you that the impact of AI really depends on how it is used. As future educator, I don't think we can simply ignore AI because it is already widely available to students. At the same time, we still need to protect skills such as critical thinking, creativity, and independent decision making. One concern I have is whether an assignment actually represents the student abilities. If AI produces most of the ideas and language, then what exactly is teacher assessing? According to UNESCO 2023 guidance, AI in education should follow a human-centered approach. In other words, technology should support people while human judgment, responsibility, and learning remain at the center. The guidance also emphasizes ethical, safe, equitable, and meaningful use. So I'll focus mainly on ethical AI use, transparency, and the role of an educator.
Alright, let's begin with the positive side. One clear benefit of AI is personalized learning. In a normal classroom, one teacher may need to support many students with different abilities and learning speed. Some students understand a lesson immediately, while others may need a simpler explanation, more example, or extra practice. AI can explain the same concept in different ways. For example, a student who finds a scientific process difficult could ask for a simpler explanation or an everyday example. I think this can make feel more comfortable because they can ask the same question several times without feeling embarrassed. However, personalized support is only helpful when it moves students towards a greater independence. If they simply copy the explanation, AI has made the task easier, but it hasn't necessarily improved their understanding. What other benefit would you like to highlight?
I agree with Umo that personalized support is useful. I also highlight immediate and adaptive feedback. According to a 2022 report by the United States Department of Education, AI support system may adapt the support students receive during learning and provide feedback while they are still working. The report recognized that AI can offer new opportunity to improve teaching and learning, although it also requires careful governance. That sounds useful, but personally, I don't think faster feedback automatically means better learning. For example, imagine that AI tells a student, this sentence is unclear. If the students think about the feedback and decided how to improve the sentence, the student is still learning. But if AI rewrites the entire paragraph, then it's no longer just giving feedback. is replacing the student effort. So the reason this matter is what we need to distinguish between support and replacement. From this, we can infer that AI is valuable when it strengthens student thinking, not when it removes the need to think.
That's a good point. I also add the AI may improve accessibility. Some students face language barrier, reading difficulties, and disability that make certain learning material harder to access. Tools such as text-to-speech, speech-to-text, speech-to-text, its translation can help. For instance, text-to-speech may support a student with reading difficulties, while translation may help a multilingual student understand the basic meaning of an instruction. The US Department of Education 2023 report also discusses AI potential to support more effective and equitable educational experience, while warning that AI system may introduce bias or unfairness if they are not governed carefully. However, there is also a risk of dependence. If students translate every single sentence without trying to understand the original language, their language ability may not improve. So I think AI should reduce barrier, but it should still help students develop their own skill. Teachers also need to remain involved because AI does not fully understand every student's personal, culture, or classroom situation.
Such a brilliant idea. Now let's look at the risk. One major issue is fault authorship. A student may ask AI to write a complete essay and then submit it without checking the ideas, source, and arguments. The essay may look impressive, but it doesn't really show what the student knows or can do. This creates a problem because assessments are supposed to measure student actually abilities. So in my opinion, unclear rules also contribute to misread. Students may know that copying another person's works is plagiarism, but they may not know whether they need to declare AI used for free brainstorming, translation, or grammar checking. So another risk is over depends on AI, which can weaken the student critical thinking and independent learning skill. When the student rely too heavily on AI generate ideas, structure arguments, or solve problem, they may stop engaging deeply with the learning process. Over the times, this can reduce their ability to analyze information from original opinions and justify their reasoning. This is especially concerning their higher education, where the goal is not only to produce the correct answer but to develop the intellectual maturity and problem-solving ability. If AI becomes a shortcut rather than a support tool, a student may graduate with qualifications that do not fully reflect with their true competence or readiness for a real world challenge. This reason this matter is that a different lecturer may have a different expectation. So institutions have responsibility to explain the rules clearly before the student begin an assignment instead of only punishing them after something goes wrong.
Okay, I agree that unclear rules can lead to misuse. But I think we should also look at why students become dependent on AI. Academic pressure and convenience may encourage students to choose the fastest way to finish an assignment. According to the OECD's 2026 Digital Education Outlook, several studies found that students improve the quality of their answer while practicing with general-purpose AI. However, when they later completed examination without AI, the same improvement was not seen, and their performance sometimes become worse. To me, this suggests that a better-looking answer does not always mean deeper learning. What is that happen? If students receive high marks for work they cannot explain or produce independently, the assessment may be measuring the quality of AI support instead of the student's actual abilities. The OECD's 2026 report also explained that when AI removes the productivity struggle in learning, students may finish tasks faster without developing quality or equally deep understanding. I also feel concerned that students may slowly stop trusting their own ideas. So over-dependence may affect not only academic honesty, but also confidence, independent thinking, and assessment fairness.
I agree. And there's another problem. AI can sometimes provide inaccurate or biased information. An answer may sound very confident even when it is incomplete or incorrect. Students may also receive reference that cannot be verified. If they copy this information without checking it, they may include false claims in their assignment. Bias is another ethical issue. AI systems may reflect unfair patterns in information used to develop them. This becomes especially serious if AI is used to assess students or make decisions that affect their marks. The U.S. Department of Education 2023 report warned that AI may create unfairness when systems detect patterns or automated educational decisions. Therefore, educational institutions need to govern how AI is used. So, students need to check information using reliable sources, and teachers should not rely on completely to automate detection or scoring. In my opinion, academic integrity is not only about students behaving honestly. Institutions also have to ensure that their systems are fair and transparent and open to human review.
This brings us a difficult question. Should educational institution completely ban AI? At first, a total ban may sound like a safest option. Teachers might feel more confident that students completely do the work themselves. However, students can still access the AI outside the classroom, so ban may simply encourage them to hide their usage. At the same time, I don't think unrestricted use suitable either, especially if AI replaces the exact skill being assessed. My view is that the rules should depend on the purpose of the task. For example, AI should not be used during the exam and that measure unaided performance, but limited support might be acceptable while student is practicing. So yeah, do you think AI should be completely banned from the writing assignment?
Okay, I understand why educators support a completely ban, but I disagree with banning all forms of AI assistance. First, it may not solve the real problem because students can still use their AI independently. Second, it may remove useful support from students who need translation, language feedback, or accessibility tools. From an ethical point of view, a total ban may not be fully equitable because different learners have different needs. However, I'm not supporting unrestricted use either. That would be unfair. A student who lacks AI completely an entire assessment should not receive the same recognition as someone who develops and explains the work independently. So we need to balance two responsibilities, giving students fair access to help, full support, and making sure that their marks reflect their own knowledge and effort. For that reason, I support control and transparent use rather than a completely ban.
I see your point, Yo, but I don't fully agree that limited use alone would be enough. Teachers may still find it difficult to know whether AI only correct a few grammar mistakes or rewrote most of the assignment. A student could say, I only use AI for language support, even though the tools change the idea, vocabulary, and the structure. So, I still think firm restrictions are necessary, especially when the purpose of the task is to assess individual writing ability. However, I agree that complete ban may remove legitimate support. Maybe institutions could clearly separate acceptable support from unacceptable replacement. Students could use AI to clarify instruction, practice question, or identify basic mistakes, but not to generate the main argument or final response. However, I agree that complete ban may remove legitimate support. Maybe institutions should clearly separate acceptable support from unacceptable replacement. Students could use AI to clarify instruction, practice question, or identify basic mistakes, but not to generate the main argument or final response.
That's a fair concern, Zishan. I agree that teachers cannot always confirm how much the work was changed. However, I still don't think prohibition is the best solution. Instead, students could be asked to make their learning process more visible. Like our task, for example, they could submit an outline, an earlier draft, and a short reflection explaining how they use AI. So teacher could also ask them to explain their main argument orally. Of course, this will not guarantee that every student is honest, but it will provide stronger evidence that the student understands the work. So I can accept clearer restriction as long as they are combined with transparency and evidence of the student's own thinking.
I think both sides have raised valid points. Yo is focusing on the access and educational benefits of controlled use, while Zizran is focusing on accountability and the difficulty of checking AI involvement. So a reasonable compromise may be only allow AI to only clearly state a purpose while keeping a student responsibility for the main ideas and the final discussion. So the rules should also depend on the learning outcome. For example, translation may be acceptable if the task assists scientific understanding, but not if the task specifically assessing and aid English ability. My proposed solution is to introduce clearly institutional guidance. Students should know the AI is allowed, what it may be useful when they need to declare if which practice is considered misconduct. For example, using AI to clarify difficulty concept may be acceptable, but submitting a fully generated essay will not be. The main strength of the guideline is consistency. However, I recognize one weakness. Rules may tell students what to do, but they don't necessarily help students understand why academic integrity matters. Some students may follow rules only because they are afraid of punishment. So guidelines are necessary, but I don't think they are enough to themselves.
I would like to build on your point. Okay, guidelines explain the rules, but teachers also need evidence that real learning has taken place. My suggestion is to use simple process-based assessment. Instead of only evaluating the final assignment, teacher could look at an outline or earlier draft and a short reflection. They could also ask a few questions during an oral presentation. The purpose isn't to punish students or unnecessary paperwork. It's to make their thinking more visible. If students can explain how their ideas develop, justify their source, and defend their arguments, teachers have stronger evidence that they understand the work. I also think this is ethically fairer because students are assessed based on their reasoning, not only how polished the final product looks. The limitation is that it may increase teacher workload, so only a few meaningful pieces of evidence should be required.
My suggestion is AI literacy education for both students and teachers. Students need to understand what AI can or cannot do, what its answer may be inaccurate, and when its assistance to be acknowledged. They should also learn about privacy, bias, and authorship. The strength of AI literacy is that it develops awareness and judgment. However, awareness alone may not prevent deliberate misuse. A student may understand the ethical rules but still ignore because of pressure or convenience. So AI literacy should be supported by guidelines and accountability measures. According to UNESCO 2023 guidance, education systems should develop human capacity and coherent policy framework to ensure the ethical and meaningful use of generative AI. AI literacy should be introduced through short workshop, orientation program, or classroom activities rather than as a completely separate subject.
Alright, we now have three possible solutions, such as clear guidelines, process based on assessment, and AI literacy education. I don't think we should combine them just because each person suggests one. We need to compare them properly Perhaps we can evaluate them based on four things: effective, fairness, practically, and transparency. Guidelines are clear, but they may not develop ethical understanding. Process-based assessment provides evidence, but it may increase the workload. AI literacy develops judgment, but it may not stop intentionally dishonesty. After the comparing this strength and weakness, which solution you think should form the basis of our final recommendation?
Okay, honestly, I don't think any one solution is strong enough on its own. Guidelines provide boundaries, but students may follow them without understanding the reasons behind them. AI literacy develops understanding, but awareness alone may not create accountability. Process-based assignment makes student learning visible, but needs clear rules to remain manageable and fair. So I suggest combine them into one responsible AI use framework. This isn't just a collection of our ideas. Each part solves a weakness in other part. AI literacy provides understanding, guidelines provide boundaries, and AI use declaration provide transparency. Process-based assignment provide evidence of genuine learning. Together, these three elements create a better balance between education and accountability. I think it's more realistic than either banning AI completely or allowing students to use it without limits.
I agree with the framework as long as it includes clear limit and human oversight. An AI use declaration could briefly explain which tool was used, why it is used, and how the student check or change the output. To keep the framework practical, institution could provide a standard declaration from and only require a small amount of evidence. The framework should also protect student privacy and provide alternative students who do not have equal access to AI tools. I also think the framework should be reviewed regularly because AI tools will continue to change. Students and teachers provide feedback on whether the rules are still fair and practical.
After comparing the different ideas, I think we need to reach the consensus. One of our actionable recommendation is for educational institution to introduce the responsible AI use framework. It will be included for connected elements such as AI literacy education, clear ethical guidelines, transparent AI use declaration, simple process based on assessment. AI literacy provides understanding, guidelines to set the boundaries, and declaration, encouragement, honesty, and process evidence helps the teachers to assess the genuine learning. So this also reflects to UNESCO 2023 Human-Centered Guidance, which places human responsibility at the center, and the United States Department of Education 2023 recommendation that educational system carefully govern the automated decision, UNESCO 2023. Most importantly, students and the teachers remain responsibility and for the educational decision.
Okay, I believe in this recommendation is practical because in this institution can introduce it through system that already exists. Students could attend a short AI literacy session. Lecturer could include clear instruction in assessment brief, and students could submit a short declaration explaining how AI was used. For major assignment, they could also submit one outline early draft. Based on the OECD's 2026 finding, students may produce stronger answer with general purpose AI without showing the same improvement when working independently. This supports our view that a more polished answer does not always present deeper learning. So responsible AI should use use should not be judged only by the final product. It should also be judged by whether students understand the content, can explain their reasoning, and remain responsible for their decision.
I agree because the framework also has a clear ethical foundation. A complete ban may remove useful support and disadvantage students who rely on accessibility or language tools. On the other hand, unrestricted use may disadvantage students who complete their work honestly and independently. So the framework tries to protect both equity and fairness. It is also recognized that academic integrity is shared responsibility. Students must be honest, teachers must give clear instruction, and institutions must protect privacy and keep important decisions open to human review. Ethical AI use does not mean completely trusting technology or completely rejecting it. It means keeping human needs, right, and learning goals at the center.
Alright, to conclude, AI can support personalized learning, provide faster feedback, and make education more accessible. However, it can also weaken the academic integrity if it replaces student thinking, hide the real authorship of their work, and provide information that they never check. We could consider the three positions: completely banning AI, allowing unrestricted use, and allowing the control use. After discussing the benefits and limitations, we agree that neither the complete ban nor unrestricted use is the best solution. Therefore, our final recommendation is a responsible AI use framework that combines AI literacy, clear guidelines, and transparent declaration and process-based assessment. Ultimately, the deeper question is not simply whether the students have to use AI. It is whether they can still think, question, explain, and take responsibility for their work. AI should be expand human learning, not to hide the absence of it. As for the future educator, it is our responsibility to model the ethical behavior and guide our students using technology wisely. Ultimately, AI should serve as a support tool, not a shortcut. Last but not least, we would like to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to our discussion. We hope that the ideas, our perspective, and share providly with meaningful insight in the role of artificial intelligence in enhancing while preserving academic integrity. We sincerely apologize for any shortcoming or unintentionally mistake of our discussion. With that, we would like to conclude of our discussion. Thank you for listening. Then thank you for your attention too. That's one from us.
Thank